Okay. In our daily lives, we spend most of our time in school or at work or maybe even both. Some of you guys might have a full-time job along with a full-time schedule at school, giving you not much time for yourselves. But what is it that you guys do during your free time? And let me ask you this: when election day comes, do you guys spare some time to go vote, or do you not have time to go vote? How many of you guys were 18 and over during the 2012 presidential election or over? Just a few of you guys. And how many of you guys actually voted in that day? Okay, mostly everyone. Voting has always been a privilege in America, but now it's taken for granted by many. With the low voting in the United States, it has given us lower voter turnout, and there are reasons why people don't vote and why they should vote. Everyone should be voting when election day comes because every vote makes a difference. For those of you that don't know what voter turnout is, it is, I'm going to explain what it is. Voter turnout is a percentage of eligible voters that cast a ballot on election day, meaning after election day, they see all the people that are eligible and they divide it by the people that actually voted, and that gives us our voter turnout. And last year during the 2014 midterm election, we turned out to have the lowest turnout in over 7 decades or 70 years. So just let that sink in. The lowest turnout in 70 years, which means we're not doing very much voting. And right now I'm being such a hypocrite because I didn't vote last year myself either during the midterm election. And because I didn't vote last year, I'm more interested in going to go vote and after doing this research and stuff. And if I could persuade all of you guys to go vote, we can make a difference. And the midterm election is pretty much where you can elect your representatives in the middle of the term. And within the three largest states in the United States, California, Texas, and New York, less than a third of the population that were eligible to vote actually voted. New York had a turnout of 28.8% of that voted, and the whole country overall had a 36.3%. And the last time we had this low was in 1942 during the World War II with a turnout of 33.9%. And there's always a lot of reasons why people don't vote. And the United States, the United States is a free country, and voting is an important part of our freedom, and we just can't seem to take advantage of that opportunity. Unlike other countries where dictators and monarchs make the decisions on behalf of the people, we have the right to choose who we want to run, the country and the White House. And so why not vote? There are many reasons why people that are eligible to vote don't go out there and vote. One main reason is because people just don't have the time for it. And time is a major factor in our lives, and in fact, it is the most important factor of our lives. And many Americans like myself claim that they don't have the time to go to a polling center to cast a vote. We're all just too busy with work, with school, and other life obligations that tend to get in our that tend to get it. I'm sorry, I lost myself. That tend to get in our way of civil duties like voting. Besides not having the time to go vote, many Americans believe that their vote won't count. This is the most common excuse used to not go vote, because a lot of people think that, my vote's not going to work, or especially like when you vote for another person and that person does not get elected, it just makes people think why am I even voting if he's not getting elected, And so most people like to believe that their vote will make a difference, so why should they waste their time to go vote? They also think that electoral college chooses the president and not their vote that does the choosing. And another reason why people don't vote is because they simply forget to go register to vote. And if you forget to go register to vote, you cannot vote, of course. And there's different ways to register. First of all, you must be 18 or older to register. You must be living in California, and it depends where you want to vote, of course. And to register online, you could do it online. You could do it by mail, or you could go to your local DMV office or county elections office. And the reasons why we should vote, like I mentioned earlier, we do have the freedom to vote and elect who runs the country. So why not vote? Everyone should be voting, especially women. And if you think about it, women can vote for a lot of years until the 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution granted the women the right to vote. And so voting for women is still pretty new. You think about it, 95 years ago, women didn't have the opportunity to vote. And when voting, there are also candidates that you should consider. There's some that you might stay away from. They're a bit radical, like example Donald Trump, who has no type of political experience. You shouldn't consider voting for him, but that's just my opinion. Before voting, make sure you take your candidate into consideration to see what she or he may have to offer. I myself will be voting for Bernie Sanders, who's a candidate in the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders, he has plans to actually better America in the future. He values education and believes that all students deserve the opportunity to receive an affordable, quality education from the earliest stages of schooling to high-level degrees. And by voting, we're just not electing who we want in the White House, but we're also electing officials. We're also letting elected officials know what changes we want to see in our, or how we feel about certain things such as education, public safety, healthcare, etc. By voting, you're also making your voice be heard and registering your opinion on how you think the government should operate. It's your opportunity to be heard and to hold elected officials accountable for the decisions and have to say in important issues that affect our community. So on election day, every vote matters. In conclusion, you now know about voter turnout, the reasons why people don't vote, and the reasons why we should vote. So when election day comes, make sure you go to your nearest polling place so you can cast in your ballot to make a difference. And remember, every vote does count, so make sure you don't forget to register and register to vote. And change will not take place without our political participation, and I hope I persuaded you guys enough to actually cast in the ballot next to it. Are you voting? Yeah.
Is actually educating everyone in business and marketing. Playing with this. And what how good he sounds. He's a businessman. He's into business. That's fun.
All right, so since Jeremy's not here, I'm going to just dive in and make my comments. Your rhetorical question at the beginning is okay, but you can see one of the problems with the audience survey that follows up because it doesn't fit with your story that you're going along with there. That's a little bit awkward as an attention device. You've got a good, clear statement of what it is that your goal is. I like that. The definition of voter turnout is okay. I know I sound like a nitpicker. I want to be careful about not overdoing it, but it's just one of those. Eligible is the word. And since you used it several times at the beginning of the speech, it's hard on the ear to hear it wrong. So just work a little bit on those things. And it's one of the things that also tends to suggest that you are doing more reading than you are speaking and knowing what you're talking about. You're a little dependent on the notes, and that's the word that's in front of me, and I'm just going to say it. And you don't really, I know you've defined it and you've explained it, but it's just awkward, And monarch is another word that jumped out at me. So I got to be careful about overdoing those kinds of things, because I think I picked on 3 or 4 people today for making some mistake like that. And that's not the most important thing, but I don't want people to ignore it. So that's why I'm bothering to mention it. I thought that you started off pretty well. think you lost your organization as you went along, and then it just felt like I'm getting one platitude after another about voting, and there's not really a particular structure or way it's building. It's just, here's some random things about voting that I'm getting, and to be honest with you, I'm perfectly happy if people don't vote if they don't know what the hell they're voting for. I don't. Maybe that's white privilege or something that's going on there, but I don't think that people should have to pass a test to vote. But Jiminy Crickets, when people go and say, well, I don't know what that is. No, yes, no, that guy. If they don't know what they're voting for, I have a problem with that. I think people need to understand. Now, people can disagree and see something differently, but at least they know what they're talking about. They've looked at something. So the idea that people should just vote automatically, I think that's a little bit problematic. Now, if you can show that the reason people aren't voting is because they're using those excuses, like you said, they don't have enough time or they don't register, then I think make that argument a little bit more effectively and say we need to have a longer voting period for people. Right? It shouldn't be. The polls shouldn't close at 8 o'clock at night. They should stay open until midnight every night, and that way people who work different hours could be able to vote. Or we should have a 2-day voting period or something like that would fix that problem. When people say, I don't have enough time to vote. What, you couldn't find 15 minutes within 48-hour period to go to the polling place at any time of the day and vote? Then there's a little bit of an issue there. I can see that that's just that person's laziness. And that's the real problem there. On the other hand, there's some people say, I don't know what's going on, so I'm not going to bother getting involved. Here's the first question that I think everybody should be asked when they're voting. Who is your representative in Congress? If you don't know who your representative in Congress is, then why the hell are you voting? You should at least know that, as a minimum, that kind of thing. Like I said, I shouldn't be making an argument that we should have a test on this, but you should be able to give reasons why people should know more about what they're doing and then act on it. And I think, as opposed to just automatically going out to vote, I think you need to do a little bit more of that. And I thought you did that a little bit. I was a little iffy about getting involved with the candidates. You mentioned Trump and you mentioned Bernie Sanders. I'm going, I'm not sure that's the direction you want to go in, but at least you are saying, I'm motivated to vote for a reason. I think that guy's an idiot, and I like what this guy is saying, so that's why I want to vote one way. Well, at least you've got a reason to go out and vote, whereas apparently 2/3 of the population can't be bothered to vote. They don't even have an opinion about people like that who are running for office. And I think you need to make a stronger argument that says, we need to know these things and we need to act on them. That's the way it ought to go. A lot of reading. You got to be careful of that. And part of that, look, you get behind the lectern from the very beginning, and then you're kind of stuck there. And then you're doing the reading thing. So I think you want to break yourself of that habit. Although you look up pretty regularly, I do appreciate that. It didn't feel to me like you were just reading and looking at the page the whole time. You were talking to us. But I could tell a lot of times that you had to do some reading to be able to get there. All right, thank you.